Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of High Live, coming at you live, of course, from HiCom HQ in Shanghai. Live once again on the Monday night, we are here with Rachel to discuss all things health and nutrition, aspects of diet and food and overall well-being. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'll say that's pretty accurate.
So thanks for coming on. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
No introduction, by the way, with Matthias this week. He's feeling a little bit under the weather, feeling a little bit, feeling a little bit delicate. So he's decided to stay on the other side of the camera tonight. So there we go, dear old Matthias. So without further ado, let's get started. We haven't talked really at all about health and nutrition so far in our series. We've done what? We've done boxing, we've done kids football, we've done pet care, we've done gaming a couple of times already. Dogs and cats, and just overall kind of happiness and how employees can get the most out of their.
All of those things do contribute to happiness.
Of course, yes. Yeah. But from speaking from personal experience, I think that food and nutrition plays an enormous part in well-being. Great to have you again, once again, Rachel. So tell us a little bit about your background in the States, first of all, and then how you ended up in China.
Maybe you're a little bit too close to the phone, actually.
Oh, you think so? So we bring the phone out a little bit?
Stefan told me.
Okay, sure. Okay,
yeah, that's better.
All suggestions welcome.
Yeah.
Is that better? Yeah, that does seem to be better, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so background in the States. I grew up in Colorado girl, so I'm a mountain girl, all things outdoors and biking and hiking and things like that. My mom owned a bakery growing up, so she makes the best bread, and I say that very confidently in a room full of Frenchies. She makes the best bread in the whole entire world.
Great.
So I kind of grew up loving food, loving learning about cooking and like the food science and everything like that. I went to school for exercise and wellness, and actually my very first year in China was in 2013. I lived in Hunan for 6 months.
Okay.
Which was
2013.
Yeah, 2013.
Right.
So it was my first year of. You were in Hunan?
No, I just arrived in China in 2013.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, but not in Hunan. No.
It was about 4 hours outside of Changsha in a small town called Yongzhou. 4 million people. Yes, tiny Chinese city. But of course, so that was. I think that was kind of where my passion for nutrition and fitness and health kind of began, because literally the only thing that you could do in the city was go to the grocery store and go to the gym. Right. There was like not a movie theater, there was like the fancy like pulled noodle restaurant, but it was just kind of like, what is there to do here? So after that point, I decided that I was going to go home, and when I went back, I was going to study dietetics. So I went back, I took a couple classes, I failed chemistry. My first chemistry class was like, all right, we're not going to go that route. So I studied exercise and wellness, and in university I also taught psychology and marriage and family courses. So that's kind of like where all of the pieces, I guess, for my job and my business and my passion for well-being in general came together, was in university, where I started learning all of these interesting things. I did personal training for a couple years on the fitness side of things, and then I did like entrepreneurial mentorship as well, and then I came over here.
Great. Okay, so when you arrived in Shanghai, you started reconnect with Rachel immediately, or were you doing some other things as well?
Yeah. So when I first came here, it was actually just kind of this. You know what? I don't want to be home anymore. I need a fresh start. I want to try something new. Like, why not go back to China? I needed an adventure, and of course. China is full of adventure. So I came here, and I just came here at first as an English teacher, and then kind of started exploring the world of coaching a little bit more, delving into nutrition, and kind of working on myself a little bit more nutritionally to figure out what worked for me, what was the right balance. Because I always knew that I wanted to help people with food, but I didn't know exactly what it would look like. So at first it was just kind of chill. And then I started, kind of picking things up probably about a year and a half ago, when I really started learning what coaching was in and of itself. So.
Okay, so you actually started what you're doing now only around a year and a half ago?
Officially, yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. And you were saying to me on the phone last week that you set up your company in the US. Is that right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so that it continues to be like that at the moment.
Yeah, and it probably will be just for logistical sake.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit easier, and most of the clients that I work with are outside, and most of the people that I guess generally attract as well, because I'm American, I'm Western, I have more of those philosophies.
Sure. So when you say outside, they're actually based outside China?
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So the first few clients that you found, that they were just people that you already knew, or you did some advertising?
Yeah.
Or?
So the first couple clients that I had were from workshops that I did. I would just do like a pop-up workshop with another company, and then people would come to me, honestly, mainly at first for other things than food, like for time management or relationships. That's another aspect of coaching that I'm really passionate about.
We might speak a little bit about that
yeah,
later.
So we can get to that later.
Sure.
So just kind of all different topics, soft skills. Like I've taught, like my very first thing that I taught was when I was 12 years old. I taught wilderness survival skills.
Oh, right.
Yeah, to a group of like 12-year-old camping girls, and I was 14.
Right.
So they were like, here, like you could probably teach this. Learn how to tie knots.
I see.
And then teach them to these girls, and then I taught like swimming and, like I said, marriage and fitness, like all kinds of like random things. So I started just doing classes on different topics and knowledges that I'd picked up over the years.
Just
and
thanks
then,
to growing up in this very outdoor
yeah,
environment.
Outdoor and like a very, I guess health conscious home.
Sure.
And I like to learn, and I worked in the foods lab for a couple years. So it just was kind of like a way that I could share my knowledge. And then people started coming and they're like, yeah, like, why don't you help me with this? Why don't you help me with that? And then I was like, okay, I can really take all of the knowledge that I've learned from school and university and teach people about it on like a more of a broad scale.
Sure,
so.
and sort of add some kind of structure to it.
Exactly,
And,
yeah.
I see. So in terms of your, so it's, I guess it's one-to-one coaching or teaching.
Yeah.
Maybe you can talk us through how your consultation sort of happens in a session. What do you actually start with in a session?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so usually, like, the first thing is always just kind of evaluating where people are, what are they looking for, are they preparing for a bodybuilding competition, are they working through, like, eating disorder recovery, are they looking for more general, like, health and wellness, that kind of healing, so kind of evaluating what their goal is in terms of their nutrition or whatever they're working on. And then I take them through a little bit of an exercise to help them evaluate their process of decision making, because we talked about this on the phone a little bit. The way that you do things in one area of your life is kind of the way that you do it in every area of your life. So we get like kind of a framework of everything that's going on, and then I can help them to see, okay, you're doing this thing this way, you're like procrastinating here, and then that's tying in over here. So we just get kind of like a big picture, and then I give them a little bit of things to start with. Some tools that I really like to use with my clients is like tracking their food and planning things, just to kind of get a little bit more awareness of what things they are putting in their body, because a lot of times people don't even know, and like they just read something on the internet like, oh, I should like stop eating rice, and so they stop eating all carbohydrates, and then they feel awful because they're like a CrossFit athlete or they're super active, but they're not getting like enough nutrition, right? So evaluating from there, and then I have 8 different topics that I usually cover in the first couple sessions, which are mindset tools, ways to evaluate your thinking, ways to notice how you're feeling, ways to make different decisions in the moment when you're feeling like, oh my gosh, there's like this big plate of, I don't know, pizza or ice cream or whatever thing it is that you decide that you'd like to not eat, or like choose something different. So in the moment, teaching them tools of how to make a decision without feeling restricted as well. And then like planning goals and thinking about, okay, how can I use this skill? How can I use the way that I eat really as a catapult into creating a better and a different life for myself? Because if you can figure out how to really like fuel your body, that you have a perfect foundation. Your mental health is going to be so much better, and you will have like tackled something that for a lot of people is really, really difficult. So,
because you mentioned tracking people's diets, and but how kind of how far do you go with that? Do you just go down to the the last calorie, or right down to the macronutrients, and you split everything up, and you're saying, oh, maybe you've got too much fat here, too much protein here, and you correlate that to what they're actually doing in terms of their lifestyle, how much exercise they're doing, and also how long do you ask them to get them to track what they're eating? Is that the first thing you do? Say for the first week or so, you say write down every single thing that you're eating per day, and then they come back to you a week later, and then you look at it, and then you kind of assess what they need to do from there.
So the short answer is it totally depends. It totally depends. The goal in the end is to get people to a place where they can not have to track anymore, but that they can be so in tune with their body signals, because like in our day and age, there are so many messages that are coming in that confuse our bodies, and we don't always know when we're hungry. We're super busy, we're eating like a lot of processed foods, and so that confuses our body into thinking, okay, I'm hungry. Or then there's also like the issue of how much play food, how much joy eats do I want to like have be a part of my life. We can talk about cheat meals in a second.
Sure.
Like how much do I want that to be a part of my life? Like some people come in and they haven't felt hungry, physical hunger in years.
And they just think they have, maybe.
Or they're eating emotionally to the point that it's like they don't even feel like even remotely hungry because they're afraid of feeling that. And so at that point it's just, okay, let's get you to a place where you're willing to kind of get in touch with those hunger signals a little bit.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
not a bad thing at all.
Yeah.
In fact, it's great just to feel a little bit hungry, or even even quite a bit hungry from time to time, just to really get back in tune with your body.
It's just like if you feel physical pain for something, like it's just a message to your brain that says something's up, pay attention to me. So like if you're not listening to those physical hunger cues, then you're really not listening to your body, and then that's going to show up in other areas as well. So for me, I like to just take as long as it takes for people to get to a place where they can know what they need nutritionally to help them feel comfortable and clear and productive. And that's going to vary for different clients. And it's also going to vary with how much nutrition knowledge they have coming in. If they don't know anything and they're coming in and they're telling me like, okay, well, I want to lose weight, so that means I need to either cut carbs or cut fat or cut protein or do hours of cardio, or they tell me like any of those things, and I'm like, okay, great. So let's just start from ground zero and let's figure out what works for your body. I give them like, there's a fly. You can put your biometrics, or like, which is basically your height and your weight and your age and your activity level, into this little calculator, and it tells you how many calories you actually need. Like if you just sat there all day, how many calories you would need to maintain your weight.
Would that be the BMR?
Yes, it would be. Exactly. So we start with that, and then we calculate macros from there. I really like to use macros because some people do really, really well with numbers and measuring, and some people see numbers and measuring and they're like, nah, like don't even do that. Like they feel so restricted and constrained.
Sure.
So macros is kind of this sweet spot where it's like, look, you can eat all of your carbohydrates from ice cream. You totally can. But just know that like you're not going to feel as good. So then people kind of start taking ownership a little bit more of their food decisions, because it's like you're giving yourself permission to eat whatever it is that you do want, and you're also owning the consequences, and you're not like saying no or yes, because that's not necessarily sustainable. Yeah.
Because you hear a lot about the whole if it fits your macros thing, which is basically what you were talking about with the ice cream and the carbs.
Yeah.
Sort of. And it's all very well saying, oh yeah, you can have a load of ice cream. It's not going to, if you're burning X amount of calories, and then you're consuming all this ice cream and it's all leveling out, fine, you're not going to lose any weight, or you're not going to put on any weight, but nutritionally it's not necessarily
feel terrible.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to be getting, there's a lot of things that aren't in ice cream basically that you need, or that are good for you. You're missing out on a lot of nutrients basically.
Yeah, and what's going to be more sustainable? Not eating ice cream because it makes you feel awful, or not eating buckets full of ice cream because it makes you feel awful, or not eating ice cream because somebody else told you to. Right? And so that's what I really want. Like, my goal is always to get my clients to the place of, all right, I know like what things work for my body. I kind of know how I can tweak things. If I start working out more, if I start working out less, I know exactly what to do so that they're set for the rest of their lives and they can kind of play around with it and like have fun, because it's kind of like your body's a science experiment, but it's like in real time. So it's very exciting for me. Yeah.
Yeah, so we just mentioned the BMR, which is the basal metabolic rate.
Yeah.
And so for maybe you could explain a bit more detail to some of our viewers who are not particularly knowledgeable in that area.
Yeah. So your basal metabolic rate is basically how much energy you need on a given day just to maintain all of your body functions. So your liver functions, your stomach, your digestion, your heart rate. It's based on how much muscle you have. It's based on your base fitness level. So if you are very, very out of shape, or if your cardiovascular shape isn't super good, you're going to need a little bit more calories because your body has to work harder to maintain those functions. The muscles inside are weaker. So it's like, imagine that your heart is like really, really weak. It's going to have to beat more times a day in order to get the blood out to the rest of your body. Yeah. So when people refer to like speed up your metabolism, which by the way, guys, is not something you can really do. That's a whole totally different topic. It's like, it's one of those sales things that people will say. But they're usually referring to your basal metabolic rate, which is just how many calories you burn doing absolutely nothing.
Even if you just sat in bed all day, you'd be burning those.
Just to keep you alive. Just to keep you alive.
So basically, if you consumed a number of calories below that, you would still lose weight, even if you did nothing all day.
Exactly.
But that wouldn't be
It wouldn't be fun.
It wouldn't be fun. It wouldn't be a lot. It wouldn't be a lot of calories either.
Yeah. It would be boring. So that's the BMR, and then you can like raise obviously the number of calories that are in your BMR if you are more active. So say you work out 4 times a week. It's like you have kind of a semi-active job. Maybe you're on your feet. Your BMR is going to be a little bit higher. But it's more on a weekly basis. It's not something that really changes from day to day. But if you become suddenly more active on a consistent basis week to week, you'll need a little bit more calories. But if you stop that activity, obviously it's going to go back down. So it can fluctuate based on lifestyle changes and all kinds of your sleep and your hormones. For women, like your hormone cycles, your BMR is going to fluctuate a little bit as well.
So in that case, do you advise your clients to calculate their calories over the course of a week rather than just day to day? So if they say, oh no, I've had 3,000 calories today, what a disaster. But in reality, it's not. If they measure it over the course of the week and it kind of levels itself out. So
yes and no. I mean, if you eat 3,000 calories in one day and say you only need 2,000, if you eat less on the other days of the week, weight-wise, it's not going to make any difference. But it's not always about the food. It's about, okay, why did you eat 3,000 calories in the first place? Did you run a marathon that day? Okay, it's probably fine. Or was it like a stressful life event? Did you go out with friends? Did you just party really hard and then not know how many calories was in the pizza that you were eating? Okay, so let's get a little bit more educated. Let's figure out why you did that in the first place, so that if it is something that you want to change and not repeat, we have a place to kind of stand on, and we know why it happened, so we can plan for how to not have it happen again in the future.
It's more like psychology a little bit.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like most things with nutrition, like it's about the food, it's about the actual like physical substances, but the reason why we eat any given thing usually has very little to do with the food. There's convenience, there's I like the way it tastes, there's if you're very, very stressed out, you're gonna tend to crave a little bit more carbohydrates, a little bit more sugar because it gives you an extra like pleasure hit in your brain. So food is food, but it's not so simple, and when you're looking to change a habit, just like with any habit, you've got to look at what kinds of things you're thinking and what you're feeling when you're producing and when you're making those choices in the first place, because otherwise you're just working on like, it's almost like putting a Band-Aid on a broken arm. You've got to really get back to the root cause of what happened in the first place. You fix that, the food's going to take care of itself. That's my philosophy.
And so you were talking about like you know, the burning additional calories, and you know, based on the you know the job that you do or how much time you spend in the gym. Don't they end up calling that the total daily expenditure?
Daily expenditure, yes, total daily energy expenditure. So what I will
be your BMR, then your TD.
Yeah, yeah, and so there's two ways that you can kind of calculate your food intake. You can do it based on macros, which is, you know, if you're consistently going to the gym 4 times a week, your daily caloric needs are basically going to be the same. Maybe on rest days, like you will not have burned as many calories, but I always recommend kind of going into macros with going into your calorie count by macros and not by totally TDEE, your total energy expenditure, because what usually happens is people get into this trap of, oh, I went to the gym today, I can eat like crap. Or I didn't work out today, so I can't have pasta, I can't have this, but like my friends are going out to dinner, I really want to enjoy this food. And then it's like, just keep it super simple, super clean, eat the same kinds of things every day. And then if you want to have a day where you just say, you know what, I'm going to chill a little bit, you can totally do that. And that kind of ties into what you were saying before about the cheat meal.
Yeah. Because there's some very strict YouTubers out there that don't advocate it at all, and they say, no, you should just, why do you need a cheat meal? Just find the things that work well for you and the things that you enjoy eating. Why would you need a cheat meal?
Yeah.
Once you've figured out that you love steak and you love broccoli and you love white rice, then and you're getting all the nutrients that you need, why do you even need one? You know, there's people that go as far as that, and then there's other people that say, well, you know, that's no kind of life for me, and it's good to, you know, relax a little bit and socialise and not be such a boring friend to other people.
Yeah, don't want to be the buzzkill. Well, and the answer is yes to both of those things. Like, there are people that work really well with having a meal where you're not tracking.
Yeah. So carry on. I'm just
does
reading
alcohol
some questions.
play by a different rule? What about liquid calories?
We can come to that.
I'll answer that question. Super good question. And then there are people that are just kind of like, you know what, I'd rather not worry about. And the good thing is, like, you can find out what works well for you and figure out what your body needs. But bringing it kind of back to the title, or what we call it in and of itself, the cheat meal, I am so against it, because when in life is it ever a good thing to cheat?
Absolutely. Yeah.
When is it ever a good thing to cheat? You don't
cheat
on your husband, you don't cheat on a test.
It's the wrong name.
And so that makes it seem like, okay, like I'm doing this thing, like I'm cheating, but it's like really good.
I'm doing something wrong, but it's pleasurable. Yeah, no, exactly.
And that totally defeats the purpose, which is...
It's not really the right name, is it?
No, I prefer to call it a joy eat, or a play food, or just chill the heck out for a day. And like, give yourself a break if you want. Like for me personally, I find that planning something like 24 hours in advance, like if I want to have like an ice cream bar and I just say, okay, I'm going to have that tomorrow, it gives me something to look forward to. And I also know that on the other side, I want to keep eating ice cream, for me personally. So there have been times that I've been like, all right, I'm going to plan it, and then I'm going to eat it, and I'm just going to like feel super uncomfortable after. because I'm going to stop eating, and my body's going to be like, nope, that was good, keep going.
Yeah.
And then there are times, like right now, today's my second day where I just decided I'm going to not do sugar for a while.
Right.
Which works really well for me and for my body and for my mindset. But
I think it works well for a lot of people once they get into it.
Once you get into it,
too much sugar is, I think it's been well documented in the last few years that it's pretty harmful if you're consuming far too much. I mean, perhaps that could lead us on to the liquid calories and the soda.
Yes. Okay, so alcohol. Alcohol you've got to be tricky with. So really quick breakdown. You've got your carbohydrates and your protein. If you have 1 gram of carbohydrate or protein, that's 4 calories per gram. Fat is going to be 9, and alcohol is 7. Yeah, so...
So what, a gram of alcohol? No,
1 gram, or 1 milliliter?
Milligram.
No, it goes by gram.
Right.
It goes by gram.
Gram of alcohol.
I know, because you can still weigh, pure alcohol. Pure
I go by
alcohol.
bottles, so.
Sorry?
I go by bottles.
Right, and so you also have to factor in, is it a cocktail? But we're just talking, alcohol. The way that alcohol is digested in the body is different than carbohydrates and protein and fat. And without going into, too much detail to be what the heck are you talking about? Basically, just be cautious with how much alcohol you're putting into your system. A, because it is more caloric, and you would be so surprised. A martini probably has about 300 calories, half of which are going to be sugar. And also, when you drink alcohol, it makes you a little loopy. Your desire to not eat all of the junk food is going to be lower because you don't care as much, which is one of the reasons why we drink alcohol in the first place. So many thoughts on that, but...
and if you just put a big bowl of peanuts right in front of on the table when you're drinking a couple of pints of beer, I mean, it's
nothing in
it's
your
a well-known
brain.
trick on pub landlords in the UK is that they have all these salty snacks because they know that as soon as you start drinking, you crave salt and you want to start. And you just can't help it. It's just there, and obviously your inhibitions have gone down because you started drinking, and the alcohol's kicked in.
I don't want that. It's
gone
gone to sleep.
It's
gone to sleep
so
for the night.
I think if you're going to be really serious about it, you're just going to have to just not go out, maybe.
Well, you can not go out, and I mean, you can also just order soda water and lime.
Yeah. I think today as well, with the choices available, compared to when I was, say, in my early 20s, and I was the designated driver, and there was only water or lemonade around. But now there's so many interesting alcohol-free drinks around that actually make going out enjoyable. And some of the beers are amazing now.
Yeah.
And you just can't believe they don't have any alcohol in them. They're incredible.
Interesting. Well, and the thing with that is too, alcohol-free beer calorically might be, alcohol-full beer.
I mean,
maybe?
it's not. So no, some of them are pretty low in calories as well. I think there's a German one that you can get in Shanghai here. No, I don't work for them or anything. Just but I think it's 65 calories a bottle or something.
Okay.
So it's if you just take it easy with a couple of those, it's
and if you're aware of it, then and I think I always advise my clients to plan ahead. If you know that you're going to be going out and you know that you're going to want to have 4 beers, that's fine. Just plan it ahead and then know that that's what you're going to want to have, and then I don't know, take it back a little bit the next day, or take a little bit back the day before, so that you can kind of maintain that on a day-to-day basis. Another thing about liquid calories that somebody asked was the level of fullness, when you drink something. So say you drink 150 calories worth of anything. It can be cola, it can be milk, it can be a smoothie, it can be a protein shake. If it's in liquid form, your body's not going to feel full for as long. It's going to go right through you, so you're going to feel physically hungry again. That means the stomach grumbles. It might mean you get a little bit more tired or you lose focus. And so it's almost like your body doesn't even know that it's gotten the fuel. So
but at the same time, you put in all these calories, and you put in the same number of calories as you would if you just had a bag of potato chips or something. But it's just all liquid and it doesn't fill you up.
It doesn't fill you up, and it doesn't last either. So if you are wanting to lose weight, the first thing that I could offer is just get off sugar as quickly as you can and just cut all liquid calories. And if you want to have like a coffee with some full fat cream, like that's totally fine. But just scale it back as much as possible. And then would be the sugar, because like the things it does to your hormones and to your blood sugar levels, like that's the most bang for your buck.
Yeah, so try and stay on the water and the tea and the coffee.
Yeah.
Regarding the liquids.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge coffee drinker over here, and I'll drink it with cream, I'll drink it with coconut milk, but I also know what kinds of things I have to not have because I want to have that, and that's a decision that you kind of come to as you play with your nutrition, and then you learn how to make decisions from this place of like, I know what I want, I know what I want to be eating, and I know what foods work for my body. And when you finally do get there, it's like, wow.
Yeah, it is.
It feels so good. Yeah.
Have you heard of something called the elimination diet?
I've heard of it, and you know what, to be honest, I probably just read the title and I was like, nope, don't even want to know.
In what way? Why wouldn't you want to know?
Because eliminating anything from your diet.
It's a temporary elimination. So it's like you're feeling like
so you
crap.
Plan
you don't
for
feel.
It to be temporary.
So for example, if you're eating for a few days and you just don't feel good, you feel a bit sluggish. You know there's something that isn't going down well. So you take something out for a week or so. And
so you take one thing out.
Yeah, just one thing. Only one thing.
Okay.
You take one thing out and you see, was it the cottage cheese that was making me, was making me go to the toilet every 30 minutes?
Okay.
Or was it, was it tomatoes or green peppers, or maybe I've got a problem with nightshades or something. So you just gradually, it's a very long process, obviously because you're only taking one thing out, say for even 2 or 3 weeks.
Sure. Yeah.
And then you bring it back in, and then you might be feeling great, and you bring it back in, and you start feeling terrible again, and you know.
Yeah, totally. I do something like that, and I have with myself and with my clients. I suppose the name in and of itself kind of
threw you a bit.
It throws me a bit, and it sounds like it has eating disorder
I
written
think
all over it. So
I think it's what turns people off. Maybe it's not the correct word. Maybe gradual elimination.
Tweaking things one thing at a time. You're not cutting out everything.
Yeah, no, it's a long process.
Right, and I think that's good. Like if you're gonna change the way that you're eating, sometimes like drastic changes can make a big difference, but just doing one thing at a time, doing it for a week, and then changing it, or just making one tiny change every single day. Like if you're going from eating burgers and fries and like you want to start eating healthier and you're just like, all right, chicken and broccoli all week, right? It's not going to happen.
No.
It's not going to happen. Because if you liked chicken and broccoli, you would already be eating it.
Exactly.
So, one thing at a time, for sure.
Just going back to the alcohol conversation a bit earlier, just David wanted to know how many grams of alcohol are there in a martini? We didn't answer that. You can't really tell.
It really does vary. Yeah, it varies. You can look it up. There's some like skinny martinis that are 100, but I've also looked up online and seen like up to 5 or 6. So it's really hard to get clear information as well. Like I know in the US there's a lot of databases where you can go and you can plug in, okay, like this many calories from this restaurant, but here in China they're not required to give that information. So
what in the restaurants you mean?
Yeah, in the restaurants, like you can ask for their calorie information. I've never tried it in China.
There's one place in the UK that actually have the number of calories next to every single dish that they. Yeah,
it's a lot more common.
But I've never seen it here.
Yeah.
Never seen it here. And I was going to ask you about fasting a little bit later, but someone has actually mentioned it in the comments.
I'm fasting. I'm fasting.
Right now?
Yeah.
You're fasting right now. How long have you fasted, Matthew?
I did I don't know how to call it in English. It's
intermittent.
Like, exactly.
Intermittent. You're doing intermittent fasting.
What's your window?
Huh?
What's your window?
Noon to 8 a.m.
Me too.
12
Okay.
to 8, so you're doing, a 16-8.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, great. So
I do food in the morning.
We're going to have to obviously introduce it
Yeah.
and go back to the basics first of all for some of our viewers who may not be familiar with it. So we're throwing all these weird terms that people don't know what they are. So you said, well, there was a quick question there before. What kind of milk is good for you? I mean, it's just I prefer full cream. But
if you're gonna have dairy milk, I'm gonna say full cream. The chemicals that it takes to remove the fat from the milk is very, very toxic. What kind of milk is good for you? Like, the real answer is none. Just because of the way that cows are treated these days. Like New Zealand cows, sure, they're going to be a little bit better, but if you have to have milk, have it in small portions. Milk is not a health food. You can put it in your coffee. I really like oat milk, and I also really like cashew milk. Environmentally is like a whole different topic, but we're just kind of sticking to food.
it
Or
just
coconut.
feels nice to sort of line your
Coconut.
stomach, but it's not necessary to have a lot of it.
Yeah, it's not like a staple food that you should try to put into your diet every day. But if you like it, so be it.
Sure. Okay. So fasting.
Fasting. Yes.
Sounds like one of your specialist subjects. Anyway.
So, I mean, there's lots of different kinds of fasting. And first, let me start off by saying that literally every single person that sleeps fasts.
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
8 hours at least. Like, dinner time, let's say you finish your last meal at 8, you wake up at 6, you've been fasting for already like 8 to 9 hours.
Hence the name breakfast. I'm sure we're going
Break
to
fast.
sure
Exactly. So what fasting is basically just you allow your body to use the fat and the energy that's already stored in it, body fat, and then also like leftover carbohydrates that are stored in your body for the immediate fuel source. So there are so many like benefits health-wise in terms of lengthening your life, in terms of energy, in terms of athletic performance that can come from lengthening that fasting window, like even for an hour. So if you're used to breaking your fast at 6, do it at 7. You're gonna notice definitely some benefits health-wise and energy-wise. If you're eating a lot of processed carbs like sugar and flour, fasting is gonna be a little bit more difficult. Yeah, just because fasting is by nature, you're relying on more of your body fat stores, which is a slower digestion, a slower process. It's like you kind of have to go to the freezer. Your body has to go to the freezer to take out its fuel instead of going to McDonald's and getting French fries. It's just like it takes a little bit longer. So if weight loss is your goal, intermittent fasting is always a tool that I recommend, just because it helps you to kind of not worry about food, which a lot of people that are trying to lose weight are like, okay, like I just want to eat, what am I going to eat, what am I going to eat, I'm so excited to eat, and then all of a sudden like you're trying to lose weight, but all you're doing is thinking about food. It makes it a little bit difficult. So intermittent fasting can kind of dial you back in and help you to just not have to worry about it for a little bit. And then also, like I said, like your body's going to be using fat. So, okay, you've decided that your fasting window, that's what I was talking to Matthias about before, is that you eat lunch at 12 and you have dinner at 8. Let's just
that's your eating window.
Yeah, the time that you eat
that you're kind
is
of allowed to eat.
Yeah, between 12 o'clock and 8 o'clock. So, okay, 9 o'clock rolls around and you kind of start to get hungry. The amazing thing that happens is like if you don't answer that hunger by eating, like if you don't actually eat, your body will be like, oh, all right, I'll just dine in. I'll just take a chunk.
Just kind of go, and then you
And
don't.
then you'll use your fat.
Because I think what I've heard is that people who are used to eating, maybe quite heavily overweight people who start fasting, they think that if they start getting hungry, if they don't eat, they're only going to get hungrier and hungrier and hungrier and hungrier. But it doesn't work like that.
Or like that you're going to die or something. It's
exactly,
like, no.
Yeah.
No, like fat is by nature, like evolutionarily speaking, the ability to store fat is what kept us alive.
It's indeed, yeah. So we wouldn't have got here if we had to have 3 or 4 meals every single day.
Right,
So.
when did we ever have 3 or 4 meals a day? Like, I don't know, 2,000 years ago.
Until it was sort of told to us by the
By
media, maybe.
Kellogg's and
exactly.
Frito-Lay and Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Please and thank
Telling
you.
us that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and
Which-
all these sorts of things.
I know, and I don't know if you knew this or not, but the original idea of breakfast being the most important meal of the day was on a Kellogg's commercial.
Yeah.
A breakfast cereal
I
commercial.
heard the same thing. Yeah.
So,
Unbelievable. Yeah.
who do you want to believe,
Yeah.
right? Like our bodies, you can go for 24 hours without food. I don't recommend it, by the way, unless you're in a really, really clean mindset about it. I wouldn't recommend necessarily trying.
I wouldn't
to do that,
recommend going straight into it, but if you've done a few fasts, if you're experienced with it,
if you're fat adapted,
yeah, you might be able. You can do it, but I wouldn't recommend doing it regularly anyway. I mean, so I've heard that some people do it maybe once a month, just to kind of flush things out and just to kind of do a kind of reset.
Yeah, just like water and lemon kind of thing
Yeah,
that you drink.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you are intermittent fasting, like the health benefits of intermittent fasting on a consistent basis.
I totally get used to 24 hours.
Okay, I lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
Just about long fasts.
Yeah. So if you are intermittent fasting on a consistent basis, and maybe you don't fast for like one day of the week, like you're gonna be getting like 9 out of 10, like 90% of the health benefits available for fasting. You might get like 93%. And these aren't like statistical numbers, it's just like to illustrate a point. You might get like 93% from a 24-hour fast. So if you really want the experience of doing a 24-hour fast, and you're not doing it from a place of, okay, I'm gonna do this to like lose weight or anything like that, because that's not something I would ever recommend, is trying to do a 24-hour fast just to lose weight. Because then what you'll do is you'll eat your whole day's worth of calories the day before, and you won't be getting like the true fasting experience either. And after, right, because there's the rebound, and then you just feel terrible the whole day.
It is possible to get to end up where you started.
Yeah, and if you're doing it for the health benefits and for the experience, like, go for it. I've never done it. I'm not interested.
Yeah, and in terms of the results that your clients have had doing fasting, do they feel that kind of high that some people get, where they just suddenly get all this energy and they think, oh my God, I can't believe just by not eating, you know, I don't have my head buried in the desk at 3 o'clock in the afternoon anymore, and I've just got the energy just runs all the way through.
Some people do, some people don't. It's a tool that I always recommend people try out just to see what works. It takes, if you're not eating processed sugar or flour, then it can take you 4 to 6 weeks to really like get your body used to it. If you are eating still a lot of noodles, a lot of bread, a lot of dessert, that could take like 12 weeks to really get fat adapted. So it kind of just depends on.
If you've been eating these types of things for years, then.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it might take a little longer.
Yeah.
But if you cut out the sugar and the flour, and you make your protocol, like you plan what foods you're going to eat, and you really stick to it, then it can take 4 to 6 weeks. But you'll probably start seeing the weight drop even faster than that if that's one of the reasons why you're using it.
And I mean, from my own experience, I mean, say I've done a few fasts where just like 16/8, where I'm more someone who would skip breakfast and then maybe finish eating around 6 in the evening, and then go, what would it be? Go through to say the next day, which would be then start eating around 11 the following morning. And you wake up in the morning, you don't feel hungry at all, and it's really, I find it super straightforward, and there's definitely benefits in terms of your mood, in terms of the energy that you have at work. You don't have these big carb crashes. I mean, they do liken it to a lot of health commentators and experts. They kind of link the two together, sort of fasting and a low carb diet. Would you say that they're kind of related?
They can be, but they don't have to be. I love carbs. Like, give me some sweet potatoes. But I also do find, like, before I really got my body used to fasting, I used to eat a lot more carbs, a lot more fruit, a lot more sweet potato. Like, carbs from like healthier sources.
Yeah.
Also like ice cream on the side, but I did notice that I would get tired a lot faster. And what I did in the beginning of my fasting was I just kind of took my breakfast and cut it in half and then put half in lunch and half in dinner. And I did notice that it didn't really work as well because there's more carbs during those times and you're getting larger amounts, which means that your body's having to work even harder to like digest those carbs. And some of you probably already know this, but when you have carbohydrates in your system, whether it's from table sugar or from like beans or like a whole carb that's a little slower digesting, like
white rice.
Yeah, like white rice, I would put that basically in the same category as table sugar in terms of like health, but you're gonna feel like a quick spike and then you're gonna get tired afterwards. You're gonna get like more of a brain fog. So I find that for me right now, I get like about half of my calories from fat because it's delicious and
certainly is.
Yeah, and then like about 20% from protein and then the rest from carbohydrates. And I'm a very like active person. I just signed up for a CrossFit gym the other day. I'm very excited about that. So I'll have, are you taking off?
No.
You say
gyro. He just said gyro. Yeah.
Go.
So like I'll have all of my carbs like before and after my workout, and then I don't experience like I eat lunch and it's not like I'm tired.
Your body's consuming them when you're doing the CrossFit.
Yeah, and I need them. I need them at that time for sure.
It's perfect. I guess the perfect time to have them would be what, an hour or two before you work out.
A little before, a little bit after. Like put some sweet potato with like coconut oil and cinnamon. Oh my gosh, so good.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, sounds good.
Coconut milk, not coconut oil. That would be less good.
Coconut
or
milk.
Butter.
So
even
coconut oil.
Yeah, you can like whip it up and it makes like a fluffy little potato-y dessert.
Right, great.
Wow, which CrossFit gym? I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
Just be vague. Just sort of be.
A really good one.
A really good one.
Yeah.
Is it in Shanghai?
It's in Shanghai.
Is it like an F?
No.
And two numbers after?
No, that's not CrossFit.
Is it near here? No one's going to know.
It's around here.
It's around here.
It's around here somewhere.
There's a few CrossFit gyms around anyway. But, okay, I'm sure. I'm sure if someone's dying to find out which one it is, I'm sure they can private message you and find out that way.
Yeah, or you can try all of the CrossFit classes and maybe we'll run into each other.
Yeah,
that would be fun.
Great, CrossFit. I've never tried CrossFit.
Oh, it's fun.
I just do the normal. I'm a bit old school with the gym, really.
Yeah, I get very bored of things very easily, so CrossFit kind of helps. At this point, it just helps me to like, okay, I don't have to plan my workout. There are other people there that are going to inspire me. I have like a gymnastics background, so sometimes it's a little bit difficult to do my stuff at like a normal gym as well. So
I see.
Yeah.
So when you, obviously CrossFit is known for being, super exhausting, really physical, just incredibly tiring. You see how these guys just totally whacked out at the end of their sessions. Doesn't that just are you tempted just to go crazy with the food straight after or the following day, just because I'm sure there are people that do that, or do you maintain your discipline and say, no, I've burned off loads and loads of calories, I'm going to eat, but I'm going to stay disciplined?
So for me, it's never about the discipline, because discipline runs out. We have limited stores of it as humans. But what I do is, first of all, like my body's kind of used to it. I've been exercising for quite some time, so it's not like I started doing CrossFit and then all of a sudden it's like my activity level is like through the roofs, right? But I plan ahead. Like I know how I'm going to feel after, and so I make sure that I'm setting myself up for success ahead of time and planning intentionally, okay, this is what I think I'm going to need, and then I pay attention to my hunger signals, to my sleep. And because I kind of have that background, like you can find all of this information on the internet as well if you're not like well versed in it. Just kind of paying attention to, am I getting enough food? Do I feel like heavy in the morning? Like, sometimes after a big dinner, like you wake up and you just feel like, I still have food in my
Oh, yeah,
stomach and it's
absolutely.
like not super comfortable? Or do I feel like, okay, I feel very light today. I probably didn't eat enough food yesterday. So I think it's really important to stay focused on the reasons why and like the place that you are making your food decisions from as well. Because like I could totally be like, yeah, like I'm doing CrossFit now. Like I'm just gonna eat all the shit and then feel terrible in my workouts and not perform well and all of that. So to answer your question is you just plan ahead. And then you tweak it and you figure out how you feel and then you just monitor it and you kind of change things as you go.
But try not to fall into bad habits as soon as that CrossFit session is over.
No, and that's what I mean too with like, you look at your week calories and you don't just eat more on the days that you work out because it's overall. You don't gain 5 pounds in a day or lose it in a day.
Okay, a quick question about sleeping. I can't see it properly,
What
but what about sleeping? What shall we? I don't know. I can't see the whole question.
Can we click on it? Does it come up?
No, I don't
I'm coming, I have good eyes.
know.
Well, it says dot.
I know
so
I've got
that's
really bad eyes, but it's not about that. It's the fact that you can't see the whole.
What about sleeping? What?
Shall we?
I
What shall
recommend
we do?
sleeping.
How many hours a week anyway?
I recommend sleeping.
Yeah.
I mean,
Should I sleep or not?
minimum, guys, like minimum 7 hours. Like, ideal is 8.5 hours. I was talking to a client yesterday, and she told me that she's getting 5 hours of sleep.
Well, that's quite a lot compared to some people I've heard. But no, I'm definitely a 7-hour guy. Yeah.
And you've got to have like, so it's like,
7 is perfect. 7 to 8 is good.
yeah, if you can get 7 to 8 on a consistent basis, sleep in on the weekends a little bit more, you're going to be totally fine. But if you're running on 4 hours of sleep, you are literally like putting Coca-Cola into a car and expecting it to run. It's like, it might run. I don't know if it actually will, but like the analogy is just,
it won't
your
run
body,
very well.
yeah, like you need to heal. There's so much stress that you experience throughout the day. Even like these bright lights, they're like literally our brain of like, there's danger coming. If you're not giving your body a chance to heal and to restore and relax, then your stress levels are going to be through the roof. Your productivity is going to be shot. You won't be as happy. You'll be less emotionally stable. All the things.
Well, is that 56?
26?
Or is
26 is what I'm seeing.
How long have we had?
That's the
No,
clock.
that's the clock there.
Yeah, 56.
My God, we're almost done an hour already.
Wow.
God, that's absolutely flown by. Because I wanted to save a little bit of time at the end just to talk about your relationship
Oh, yeah.
services,
Yeah.
if that's what you would call them. So yeah,
My
go
relationship services.
Go ahead.
Well, with my coaching business, so like we kind of talked about a little bit before, it's one-on-one. That's my main thing. I'm launching a YouTube channel coming up here in a couple weeks. I have a website and a blog where I talk about food and I talk about relationships. So you can kind of find me there if you want more information up front. But then with the relationship stuff, I mean, love and connection is what we live for. It's like, it's one of the most important things that affects the quality of your life. If you don't have people around you that you love and people around you that you can support and be supported by, then like, what's the point of any of it? So, I don't know, do you have any specific questions about the relationship side of coaching?
But I mean, based on the call we had last week, you were saying to me that some of your clients just come to you for advice in terms of basically how they can find a guy and what they can do to improve their chances of hooking up with someone that they're not.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the right word, but
Connecting with yes.
The person that they're looking for, basically.
Yeah, so in those cases, it's looking at confidence. It's looking at how do you feel about yourself. It's looking at getting really specific at what kind of partner do you want to have? What do you want your relationship to look like? And what do you want your relationship with yourself to look like when you are with them? And kind of just focusing on the things that you can control. Like, we can always control if we actually run into the person that we are meant to be with, or one of the people that we are meant to be with.
Take some chances.
Yeah, like it's a little bit of risk, and the more you go out, the more dates you go on, the more you increase those chances. And the more dates you go on where you're feeling confident, where you're feeling like amazing, like your best self, where you're feeling like, okay, I know that this person has these qualities that aren't so good for me, the more often you're going to be able to say no and then close the door on that and go look for other people. Because if you're going on more dates and you are very clear on what you want, if you find someone that doesn't work out, it's not like you're attached to them. It's like, all right, I have options, like you're a good person or whatever, but we can just
and also, the more dates you go on, maybe the more you realise that maybe the type of person that you thought you liked at the beginning isn't actually the type that you're interested in at all after you've been on 10 to 15 dates, or no matter how many, regardless of how many it would be.
Yeah. I used to think that I really liked funny guys, and then I kept going on dates with people that weren't funny, and I liked them. So it's like, okay, maybe I should be the funny one here.
Yeah. Well, you just like really serious people then.
I like to talk about serious things. Throw in some jokes in there. That's all good too. Yeah.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. But without someone just turning every single thing into a joke, it's actually
like some
good
substance,
to address.
right?
It's good to address real issues from time to time, without someone just making a mockery of it. Each
exactly.
side, yeah.
And to feel like you can really speak your honest opinion about things that are serious and that you have an issue with, without it being like, well, they're not going to take it seriously, so why even bother?
Sure. And have your clients had any recent success on their ventures?
Yeah, actually, one of the events that I did maybe like 2 months ago, we had some couples that formed from that. So
great.
That's really exciting.
Brilliant. Yeah. And I'm gonna repeat a question that I asked you on the phone a couple of days ago, and it's about Chinese guys looking for Western women in Shanghai. Do you have any tips?
Talk to Western girls. They want to hear from you. They want to know you. And if they don't, it's so much better for you to get the chance to practice your skills. There's no best place to find women that are looking for a partner that's Asian. Like, there's no best place. The best place to find it is where you are confident and you just approach us. Because most of the time, the clients that I talk to, we look at an Asian guy and we think, oh, he's so cute. We want him to come talk to us. Chinese guys are more traditional, so they probably might be a little bit intimidated if I talk to them. So I'm just gonna come, just come talk. And if you want to start it out as a friendly conversation, you can totally do that too. But there are so many Laowai ladies that want a local guy. Yes.
Don't be shy, guys.
Don't be shy.
Put yourself out there.
Yeah. and if something happens and you get rejected, what's the worst thing that can happen? Just find another
Move
Laowai.
on and just
Lots of them.
She probably wasn't right for you anyway.
Yeah.
So just don't be too hard on yourself and move on. And
Don't fail because you decided that she doesn't like you. Fail because she tells you. And then you can learn from it, and then you can do better next time.
It's always the best way to learn.
Yeah.
So, great, yeah. What a great way to finish the stream.
Perfect.
With lots of love.
No battery anymore on the camera.
No battery anymore. Okay.
So you can say quick bye-bye.
Well, we do a quick outro for the camera then.
Okay.
No, you can do it now. They still love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Outro.
So, thank you ever so much for joining us, Rachel, for a lovely hour on health and nutrition and a little bit of relationship at the end.
Yes.
So, I'm sure we'll have you on at some time in the future again. Feel free to come back on, and there we are. So we won't switch this one on just yet. We'll just do a little bye because we make this compilation video each time.
Okay.
So we'll just do a quick bye.
See you, Rachel.
See you. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.